Do you realize, for the kids that are watching this, the interview is with a person that their style of play changed the way all of baseball was played. But yet when he reflects back on track in his high school years, he was third or fourth best. So if you talk about speed and stolen bases and singles, you think of him and the history with the game, but yet when you interview him, in his neighborhood, he was the third or fourth fastest guy. What does it mean to me as a teacher, much more than an interviewer? Anything is possible.
That's right. That's right. I it's so well said, because I know, I know for certain that mostly everything that I accomplished came from inside. It wasn't because I had outstanding talent,
Right.
such as being able to run faster than anybody else, throw the ball harder, hit the ball any further, but nothing like that at all. In fact, I was always the littlest guy on the field, and I was the captain of the Dodger team. And the guys would come to me after the game, and I'm like this, talking to them. I'd go to the mound. I remember one time I went to the mound. It was a Hall of Famer, this was Don Sutton.
Okay.
And he was in trouble in about the 8th inning. Maybe it was about the 5th inning. And so I'm the captain of the team. I ran in to slow him down and see what's going on, and maybe I can calm him a little bit. And he looked at me and said, "What do you want?" I said, "Nothing."
That was enough.
I ran on back. And he was a rookie at the time. I said, "Wow, this kid's going to be all right." And guess what? He's a Hall of Famer today. There's something inside of you.
Let me talk about your right arm and high school football, because I did do my work on you. That right arm led to some success with your high school football team.
Yes, as a quarterback,
Sure.
I could throw the ball. I could throw the ball 50 yards, I think, in high school. Now I was a pitcher in high school too.
Okay.
I might even have the record today, and that goes back to the
40s.
40s.
That would be 70 years.
Yeah.
In football, you guys won the championship.
Yes, we won a lot. Yeah, I had 9 scholarships in football, and I went to some campuses
Right.
to.
Did you
be
think
interviewed.
maybe I'm playing college football? Did that thought?
Oh yeah, my brothers had already gone.
Right.
And my oldest brother and a childhood lifetime friend
Right.
had already, who played third base
Okay.
on that team, Cardozo High School.
Sure.
And my brother was a shortstop, and they got me to come to that particular school.
Right.
And they went on to the University of Virginia,
Right.
in Petersburg, Virginia State in Petersburg, Virginia. And they made sure that I was going to follow them.
Right.
So, my point was, they were better than I, but
You at 16, 17, the thought was in your head, maybe I'm going to college to play football.
yeah, that's right. But the guys were so big. Yeah, I was just a little guy, and they were so big, and I was kind of intimidated looking around. And the Dodgers had already offered me a contract.
That's what I'm getting to. So,
Yeah.
do you remember the scout that came into town, or do you remember sitting with them? Or, I mean, because that changed your life.
It changed my whole life. The scout's name was Rex Bowen, R-E-X Bowen, B-O-W-E-N.
Okay.
Now, I always remember that. He has a son now who's a scout
Okay.
in baseball, in Major League Baseball. When Rex Bowen, I'm going to go back about maybe 5 years ago,
Okay.
6 years ago, he passed away.
Okay.
And his wife somehow got a message to me and to tell me, and she wanted me to send a telegram and to be read at his memorial.
man.
And I did that, and I'll cover that. But let me tell you what happened. I'm a God-conscious person. I just believe that things just don't happen by circumstance on Earth. I think it's
Because
meant
you're
to
not
happen.
talking the Washington Senators, who are
No.
right there in your
Yeah.
own backyard. What we're talking about is Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So that scout's doing his job.
Yes. And so what happened was the Washington Senators at Griffith Stadium in Washington, D.C. was conducting a baseball clinic.
Okay.
And he advertised it in the local paper, the Washington Daily News.
Right.
kids between the ages of 17 and 19.
Right.
Come and bring your spikes and your gloves. And would you believe, I never saw the ad. My dad didn't see it. My brothers didn't see it.
Okay.
It was one of the weekend guys with the half pint of whiskey in their
Really?
back pocket. They told me about it and said they're going to take me up there. I said, take me? Yeah. They gathered up enough gas money between them all and took me to Griffith Stadium. And when we got there, we sat there. There's so many kids. We sat there for a couple of hours, I think.
Right.
And the camp was getting ready to close down because they couldn't get to everybody.
Okay.
And these old guys who with half pint of whiskey in their back pockets,
Right.
they'd been nipping the whole time.
Right.
And they were a little bit boozed. They went over and jacked up one of the scouts said, no, you ain't shutting it down until you see this boy. He's
Okay.
good. The scout said, no, it's over. We don't have time.
Really?
Yeah. So, they put a little fear into the scout. The scout said, okay, well, bring him over here. Let me see him. And he had me to throw. And I popped that in there. And then you put me in a little, they started a little game up again. And he had me to face 3 guys. I struck them all out.
As a pitcher?
As a pitcher.
Okay.
And then he said, can you pitch another inning, kid? I said, certainly. Pitched another inning, nobody touched the ball, struck them all out again. I'm talking about like 9 pitches. I could get
Sure.
the ball over the plate. And the scout said, wow, that's great. Son, you got a curve? Can you show me a curve? I showed him a curveball that the older guys had taught me. It fell off the table like Sandy Koufax, only from the right side. He said, you have a phone at home? I said, yes, sir, we got a phone. Can you give me the phone number? I gave him the phone number. He said, we'll be in touch. So a week went by. We were happy going home and everything.
Sure.
2 weeks went by. 2.5 weeks went by. They're not going to call. 3 weeks, the phone rang. They're coming over. Now I got all 13, 8 sisters and 4 brothers all around the wall. And my mom and dad sitting there and we're waiting for the scout. And the scout came and we're going to get all this money and I'm going to get my folks out of the projects.
Okay.
And the scout offered us a pair of pants and a shirt. That's the bonus. Oh, and my dad stuttered. He said, whoa. I thought we could get a little more than that. Scout said, that's it. I tell you what, he said, I'm going to offer you $500. And as they grabbed the coach, he said, take it or leave it. And they were leaving the house. And my dad had never seen $500
Sure.
at one time in his life. This was 1950. Just a moment, he stuttered to the scouts. He said, we'll take it. And he gave us the $500. I gave my dad $250. I
Right.
took $250 that I'd never seen before in my life.
You could have bought anything you wanted.
I'm rich.
Yeah.
And I made my dad rich. So
your first professional contract was with the Senators.
no, this was a Dodger scout.
A Dodger scout
Yeah,
came to the
the
house.
Senators.
So the Senators tryout did not lead to a Senators
No,
scout coming to the house.
The Senators put on the clinic, but they had other teams represented.
So a Dodger guy was sitting there watching and
Yeah.
noticed the kid.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
So the Dodger scout signs you $500 and you get a 2-day trip to Florida is what you get.
Oh yeah.
Because that's your first time leaving home.
That's right. And they switched me to the infield. I never got to pitch. I was too little.
They made that decision when they got you to Florida.
Yeah, right away.
I guess the big question, I've heard, I'm just a baseball guy. I grew up in the game, so I've heard some of these stories, but now I get to ask you. I know the end is Bobby Bragan, but now I get to ask my questions.
Mhm.
Thousands of kids leave home for college, leave home for football, basketball, baseball, thousands of them that never get as far as AAA, the major leagues, the NFL, the NBA. My question is, you leave home and then you do your first year and you put in your time, your first year.
Yeah.
You come back to DC.
Yes.
I'm trying to get where everybody had to ask, Sonny, how did it go? Because that was the first year.
Yeah.
You're back home. It's the winter.
Yeah. Very good question.
I'd
Now-
love to know because the whole neighborhood had somebody that left.
That's right. You know what? And my brother, older brother, it was three older than I, but the one that just older than I was the one whose coattail I would hold on to all the time to run. And when we had the relay team, he was the one that was the anchor man.
Really?
Anytime I would lose a little ground, he'd make it up, and we'd win that race. So when we got home, my first year I stole 52 bases as a professional.
That's no joke in the early 50s.
No, yeah, right.
That hadn't happened since Max Carey, and I'm going back way before your time.
Oh yeah, I know the name though. Not scary, yeah. I broke his record too.
I know. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. I'm a patient man.
Okay. So now when we got home that winter, I said, his name was Bob. I said, hey Bob, I want to race you. He said, Carl, forget it. You mean you race me? I said, yeah. He said, you can't beat me. I used to make up the ground, you lose all the time in the relay team. We only let you on it because we liked you. I said, yeah, but I can run now.
Because you're learning.
Yeah.
You're seeing other guys.
I've come to believe that boys grow in a way that can be seem different to someone who doesn't know any better. You got to watch boys from the ages of let's say 15 to 19, because I was 17 when I signed, and that's when I went off to play.
Right.
And now I turned 18 because my birthday's in October.
Okay.
And I went off to play that first year, and I stole all the bases. I came back and challenged him, and he's laughing at me. He said, "I'm busy." I said, "No, please, Bob, come on, I want to race." He said, "Okay." So
where did that race take place? In the neighborhood?
In the neighborhood, right on the street. We didn't have any yards in the neighborhood. Right on the street.
So you're challenging your brother?
Yeah.
In the street?
Yeah.
After your first season?
Right. And he got a couple of people we knew to be out there with a little string, and a couple of people there. Before you know,
you feel the juice, though. You feel it.
Oh, I know I can take it. Yeah. I know I can take it. I stole all those bases, and I could run. I beat everybody in the league. You know, when you're in the minor leagues, you always have a lot of pre-game activities to drum up fan interest, get people in the park. You'd have a catcher throwing.
Dude, you're leaving me hanging. I need to know.
Okay. I'm gonna tell you. Okay, you have a home running hitter contest. That was the major one, the end, and they also had a race.
Okay.
The fastest, you know, and so this team that we ran against had a black kid named Jennings.
Okay.
And his Jennings' manager was George Genovese.
Sure.
Who's a Dodger scout today.
Yep.
And every time George Genovese and I see each other, and we laugh, Jennings, I thought he was going to burn you, Maury. Well, you got him. He reminds me of that. So I'm racing against Jennings, and I dusted him. And I knew from that time on I could run. And when I got home to my brothers, I wonder if he's laughing at me. So we said, okay, we'll get somebody to start it. And you come on, let's go. We get down there, and we had somebody go like that with a flag, you know, and I got him by 2 feet. I mean, I was decisively in front of him. Right. And to this day, he said, I can't believe it. What happened to you? Yeah, how'd you learn to run like that? I don't know. We just, boys grow fast in a certain span of time. And the same thing with baseball players.
Sure.
Today, with the Dodgers, I train players for them now.
Yep.
And I know I see players from 2 years ago to today, totally different. They've advanced so much.
I watched something. Remember, we were in the living room and I was giving you memories. You know, memories that in an old timer's locker room filled with 10 Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
I told you when you walked in, they all got up to go to you. I remember that.
Oh, yeah.
I have the memory of the pictures that I was showing you from spring training. When we got done, the next day I was there too. At the end of the dugout, right, that day, Manny Mota was sitting in the middle of the dugout, and he was just sitting on top of the bench. And at the end, this is what I watched. I watched Juan Pierre talk to you and call you Mr. Wills and Sir.
Yeah.
And he wanted to listen to anything you had to say. Because at that time, he was a Dodger, and he was stealing 50, 60 bases.
That's right.
So I have access because of writing the books. Oh man, I took that conversation in like a sponge.
Yeah.
Because don't get me wrong, but he's young and he's doing it now, and you're the master, and he had his chance for his 5 minutes,
Yeah.
and he wanted to hear anything you had to say.
I love one. Yeah.
Come on.
We had that kind of relationship. I had the same type of relationship today with D. Gordon.
You do.
Yes. Everything is yes sir, no sir. And I love that. Not for me,
I understand.
But to see a young man
They care.
in this day and age, yes. That's right.
So you beat your brother in the race.
Yes.
I got a couple things that I want to hit on childhood before I turn the page where Maury's Sonny's a baseball player. There is heartache. There are tough times. If I asked you the saddest memory, the toughest day, you're a kid, 8, 10, 12, 14. There's all kinds of different answers, but you have to have a memory of a tough time. Nothing to do with sports, just life. But sadness. Do you have something that sticks out from 8 and 10 and 12 of an unfortunate situation that you were a kid and Sonny was either sad, crying, upset, whatever?
I think I had several. I suppose the saddest were memories that come to mind right away. It had nothing to do with sports. It had nothing to do with projects. It was I had two brothers that served in the Second World War, one in the Pacific and one in Europe, and they were my heroes. I watched them play ball, and I wanted to be just like them. One day I hope to play with them, and I did grow up to play with them. They went into the service, and they were in the middle of the war in their respective campaigns. One in Europe, one in the Pacific, and they were never the same when they came home.
So whatever occurred in the war and your memories before they left, they survived with their lives with the war.
Yeah.
But the way they lived life.
Yeah, it's totally different.
Interesting.
But the older brother was flashy. He was good-looking, charming. He was
Debonair.
Debonair, good word, yes. And I wanted to be like that. And then the second oldest, who was young, just under him, was flashy, great dancer.
Right.
Used to cut my hair all the time, and he would cut my hair, and he'd tell me, "This is a Frank Sinatra cut. This is a D. Martin cut, or whatever." I said, "Okay." And they were never the same. One became an alcoholic.
It teaches you that you can come home from the war, but the war doesn't leave you.
That's right. No, the older one, you're right. The older one, he was so in love. He had a charming fiance that he felt was waiting for him to come back, and she wasn't there.
Dear John.
Yeah, it broke his heart. He was never the same. He used to kick extra points and kick off, and he loved me to hold the ball for him when he practiced.
Right.
And I loved that. That was going out the window.
Really?
Yeah. So.
Maybe, not to go off too much. World War II means that our history books will say, of course it was a victory, but man, we paid the price.
We paid the price, absolutely. So my brother never recovered from that. Those were, to this day now, I mean, we're talking about in the 40s.
I understand.
And now here we are we're in 2015.
I know.
And I still carry that.
But I asked the question, and I wanted the emotional family answer, and that will teach. That's what this is about. It's using baseball to teach life. That's what the whole thing's about.
Okay.
Everybody, whether it's raking leaves, shoveling snow, cutting lawns, working at the market, everybody does something to get a couple of bucks in their pocket.
Sure.
So
I think I did all those.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Yes.
You had to do something during your teen years to get a couple of coins in your pocket. What do you remember doing to get those coins?
I was enterprising. You're killing me. At the young age of maybe 7, Um, when it snowed in Washington D.C., I got me a shovel and I knocked on people's
did?
doors over on the other side of the tracks.
Oh, so you went
other-
some distance.
I went to the other neighborhood and knocked on doors and asked people if I could shovel the snow for them.
Right.
They give me a dime, and I cleaned it up real good. Thank you, boy. And I had a dime, and I would do 4 or 5 of those.
Right.
Came home with 50 cents, $1.
Right.
Whoa, I was rich. And I remember going in the summertime, going to in the winter too, going to a dump
Right.
and finding wood there.
Okay.
That's been trashed and thrown away,
I understand.
and bringing it home. First of all, I made a wagon out of it. I got the tricycles, you know these tricycles that's got the long axle in the back with the
Right.
2 wheels, and then you got the big wheel up in front. I would find a couple of those tricycles in the dump and take that axle off with those wheels
Sure.
and make me a wagon. And do it, make it a wagon, and then go out and collect wood, and then go over to wood people that had wood stoves. You know.
And so they'd give you something for the wood you collected.
Yeah, to give me wood. Yeah. And so I was doing that at a young age of 10 years old or less. And then not to mention, later on got a shoe shine box.
You did?
Made that.
That's,
And
you know, it's
signed for
associated
for
with the
five-
Latino
for
ball
$1.
player.
I mean,
Yeah.
5 cents.
The shoe shine box in baseball history, that shoe shine box is associated with the Latino player.
Mm-hmm.
But I like hearing,
Oh, I definitely had that.
really,
Or get a quarter. I find 5 shoes, 5 customers for 5 cents each. Go ahead, boy, yeah. Like that. I pop the rag and give it a little rhythm and everything, and make a quarter and go home. That's what I got.
so you did a variety of different things to keep a couple of pennies in that pocket.
Yes.
Now, before I go to the Dodgers, I've got the 5 teacher questions. I did these with Mudcat, I did them with other guys. Here we go. Teacher question number 1. In the 1950s, a man skipped 2 grades and graduated high school in 10 years rather than 12, and went on for his degrees and got a PhD where they called him doctor. That is a black man, Dr. Martin Luther King. So I try to teach him as a student and the son of his father, besides with the history books too. So you're around, and you're on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and you're on the cover of the Sporting News, and you're on the Tonight Show. At the same time, in another genre, this guy is doing his thing. Did you ever meet him? If you did or you didn't, the story. If you didn't meet him, you were both at the top of your game right around the same time. Your thoughts. Go anywhere with Dr. Martin Luther King.
Well, yeah, I lived with the pastor of my church in Los Angeles,
Okay.
and I was a Dodger player and a star Dodger player. From the beginning, a rookie, sophomore, working my way up to becoming a star there, I stayed with the pastor of my church, and Dr. Martin Luther King came to visit,
Really?
and I got to meet him.
Well, what'd you think? I mean,
I know what to think. I mean, I'm a baseball guy.
I know you are.
My life was baseball. Eat baseball, drink baseball, talk baseball.
Is he a guy named Martin that came to visit?
He came to stay with the pastor of the church and visit with the pastor. They were there for about 3 hours. And I just got in to meet him for about 10 minutes and shook his hand and, how are you, sir? And he said, nice to meet you. And, nice to meet you. And that was it. But
His work,
that was bigger than...
your style of play changed the sport. You don't need me to tell you that. His work also created great change.
Yes.
It's 2015. It's more than 50 years later. Your thoughts on how it was, and you watched it change. Just in general. Just a poor black kid from Washington D.C. That you've lived this long. I don't care where you go with it.
I've seen the world change. I've seen people change. This is a part of my life that if I'm, I don't want to say pushed to talk about it, but if I'm asked, like you're asking me to,
I'm asking historically.
I go into it. Otherwise, I stay away from it because I have friends from all walks of life, ethnicities, statuses, all the way from the ground crew at Dodger Stadium
Sure.
to visiting the president in the White House. President Nixon and I were good buddies. I remember one year when I was playing for the Dodgers had sent me to the Pirates. I would play for the Pirates, and we were playing in Houston, in the Astrodome, when Bobby Kennedy had been assassinated.
Out in California.
Yes, and President Johnson declared. Well, no, but President Johnson, President Nixon came in after that.
Yes, he did.
And he declared a day of mourning in recognition of Bobby Kennedy.
Sure.
Most baseball players didn't play that day. The Astros and the Pirates decided to play
Okay.
in the Astrodome. And it struck me hard. And I went to the manager and asked to sit this one out. And he wouldn't take me out of the lineup.
Really?
So I refused to play. And I got in trouble.
Really?
Yeah. They reprimanded me. But
Some folks don't understand.
no, but Ethel Kennedy, 2 days later, invited me to Hickory Hill, Virginia, right outside of Washington, D.C.,
Really?
to have dinner with her, along with Robert McNamara and P.L. Salinger and a couple of other people of that status, in which I accepted. And to this day, I'm friends with the Kennedy family. Even got to go to.
Because a guy sits out a game, it ends up in the newspaper. It's in the newspaper. People read it. It gets back to the Kennedys.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you got reprimanded. It built another relationship.
Yes, it did.
Amazing.
Yes. I I think about it at times, kids that came all the way from the projects, 4 and 5 in a bed, 1 bath in the house, 13 children, 8 sisters, 4 brothers, beans for breakfast, beans for lunch, beans for dinner.
Would you take a look? I don't care how the camera gets us.
Yeah.
I want you. That's where you're at now.
Yeah. So Sandy, you can't tell me there's not a God, because I really believe that. How did I get from there to here? I didn't do it all myself.
One thing I will tell you, I met you the first time in 1974. That's 41 years ago. I vividly remember meeting you. No change.
No.
I'll tell you that to your face.
Yeah, I don't
Easygoing,
wanna
laid
change.
back,
Yeah.
nice. I mean, I'm allowed to tell you because it's my interpretation of
Yeah.
you. You are also, in 1963, you just won the World Series.
Yes.
You're the World Series champions in September, October.
Yes.
In November, we lose the President of the United States. Where were you? How did you find out? What went through you? Because that's your town.
Yeah. I heard about it. John F. Kennedy. I was on the golf course in Las Vegas,
Yeah.
Nevada, when the word got to me. I was stunned. Didn't know what to think.
Disbelief or shock? Or both?
Both. Why? How? Gee. Mostly why. Yeah, it's a sad moment.